What is good, Alabama fans? Chris Daughtery here again for another edition of the Alabama Football Report. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be breaking down some freshmen who could possibly contribute to Alabama here in 2024. Emphasis on the could. There's some guys here that I really like for, the freshman class here for Alabama. But, they might not be able to get on the field to contribute. I also want to make note, I did throw in some redshirt freshmen as well. Just gave me a couple more bodies to choose from, or else it's pretty much just going to be some of the DBs and the wide receivers. So I threw some of those redshirt freshmen in there as well. I think Alabama's got a lot of young talent on this team that can definitely help them here in 2024. Before we get into all that, I just want to give a little selfless plug out there. Follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you guys are calling it these days. That's at Chris Chat Sports. I think I'm at like 288 followers right now, so whoever gets to be that 300th follower will get a shout out on a future video. I want to first just talk about some of these freshman wide receivers, and like I said, I did throw some redshirt freshmen in there, so don't kill me on that. I think two guys that we know for a fact will get some playing time for Alabama, some meaningful playing time that is. It's going to be Ryan Williams and Caleb Odom. Both of those guys have really shown both in, Caleb Odom in spring ball, Ryan Williams obviously coming in, during the summertime. He has looked amazing as well. So everybody pretty much, I think, is very excited about those two guys. I also want to outline, Rico Scott. I think he's looked pretty good as well. A lot of the coaching staff and players as well have just talked about his speed coming in for Alabama this year, and two redshirt freshmen that I think not a lot of people are really talking enough about. You got Cole Adams and Jaren Hamilton. Jaren Hamilton's another guy that brings a lot of speed to this wide receiver room. And then Cole Adams, a guy that Jamarcus Shepard also has called, Mr. Reliable, somebody who I think they're going to use kind of as a utility guy, probably like more in the slot than anything else. But I really like everything that we've heard about Cole Adams. This is what Alabama wide receiver coach Jamarcus Shepard has said about Cole Adams. He said, I'll tell you a guy that's really stepped up to the plate and has shown some grit, some toughness, some ability to go out there in any situation and make the plays, and that's Cole Adams. I'm really excited about how he's been able to really flash in this offense. So I want to hear from you guys in the comment section today. What freshman will contribute the most for Alabama this year at that wide receiver position? Not saying punt return or anything like that. Specifically as wide receivers. It is the pinned comment of today's video. You guys should know what that means by now. It means that ad is going to play here on YouTube most likely. So just ignore it. You can go down there to the pinned comment and let me know what freshman will contribute the most for Alabama here in 2024. One position group that we have talked so much about is this defensive back room. You got so many very talented freshmen, and any single one of these guys could find their way onto the field this year for Alabama. Jahlil Hurley, redshirt freshman, we talked about him a little bit on a video a couple days ago. Hasn't really had a whole ton of buzz around him, but sometimes it takes guys, especially at the DB position, a couple of years to really, flourish and, really learn the defense and be able to really contribute on the field. So, Jahlil Hurley might take him a little bit longer, but that's okay too. Really like him as a talent, former top 100 player. And then you got Red Morgan over there. He's really going to be playing at that Husky position this year alongside Devontae Smith. Not the wide receiver, the defensive back for Alabama. And you know what? Devontae Smith has really, in the last year in particular, just went through a lot of injuries and stuff. So if something like that were to come up for Devontae Smith this year, I got a lot of faith in Red Morgan. Really liked what I saw from him out of the springtime. I thought he looked really good. Zay Mincey, Zabien Brown, Jaylen Mbakwe are also three guys that are really vying for that starting cornerback spot for Alabama this year. You got, at corner this year, Deshaun Jones, Zabien Brown, Zay Mincey. All these guys that can really contribute. Deshaun Jones, I think right now, is that starter most likely. you run him out there for the first game of the season, and honestly, against Western Kentucky, he probably looks good, but you'll probably see a couple of different guys at that cornerback spot for Alabama in the first couple of games of the season anyways, until that battle really gets ironed out. But there is so much young talent here for the Crimson Tide, and I think any one of those guys can really find their way into contributing for Alabama here in 2024. So what freshman defensive back do you think has the best chance to start for Alabama this year? We just went through all the guys. There's so much talent in that defensive back room, even though it is light when it comes to, mature depth, guys who have got playing time in the past in college. But, man, you cannot help but be excited for the future. So let me know what freshman defensive back has the best chance to start for Alabama this season. I want to talk about the running backs now. Could have went the true running backs, but I think those guys are probably going to have to wait a year. So I'm going to go with a redshirt freshman in Richard Young. We really, really love what we've heard and seen from Richard Young so far. Not just this year, but last year as well. Got a little bit of playing time last year. 9 carries for 24 yards, 1 touchdown. So, Richard Young, I think he's going to end up being possibly one of those bell cows for Alabama in the future, whether that's this year or even next year as well. He's a little bit bigger of a running back than Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, so possibly, a little bit of throwback to, kind of Derrick Henry. Obviously, he's not as tall as Derrick Henry, but he is, a really, really big dude at that running back spot. And I can't wait to see what he can bring to the table as well. This is what running back coach Robert Gillespie said about Richard Young recently. He said, every time we had a scrimmage situation, he shined. He took his first year and watched those guys, Justice Haynes and Jam Miller, and it was tough on him, very humbling. But I think he came out hungry in the spring, and he's continued to have a great off season. The summer was good to him. He took care of his body, and then he's done a good job so far in camp. And he has done a good job in blitz pickup and being physical. He's a lot bigger than people think. All he has to do is continue to work on his pass protection, and he will be fine. And right there about the pass protection thing, I think that's one of the main things that took Justice Haynes a little bit longer to get on the field. I say a little bit longer. He is a true sophomore after all this year. But last year in particular, I think that was one of those things that kept him off the field as much as maybe he probably should have been. I think Justice Haynes, Jam Miller are pretty much set in stone. You're running back 1A and 1B. Whoever's the hottest guy is really going to get the ball. And originally, I thought Richard Young was really going to be the guy that could, come in and just run the clock out kind of thing, getting some mop-up time. But, the more that this fall camp has kind of gone on and progressed, really sounds like Richard Young is going to be able to contribute to Alabama in some meaningful playing time this season. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you go check out chatsports.com/Alabama jerseys and get ready for the Alabama football season. You can get these customizable jerseys. You can get them in crimson. You can get them in white. You can also get some alumni jerseys as well. They've got Bryce Young. They've got all the guys who have come through Alabama. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you get ready for game day. You can get up to 30% off. They're at $104 right now. They're originally $140. So you can get about $40 off if you go to chatsports.com/Alabama jerseys and get those Alabama jerseys today. Going over to the defensive line / linebackers, just because I wanted to kind of group these guys in together. I think two of the most exciting guys that, we have heard about in the last 2 seasons. Redshirt freshman Keon Keeley and redshirt freshman Russaw. Both of these guys are just super, super exciting. When it comes to Keon Keeley at that bandit position, you've got Jamarian Latham, LT Overton there as well. So he's probably the third guy in line right now, unfortunately. But if something happens to one of those guys, Keon Keeley is definitely a guy that I think can go in there and contribute. He put on a lot of weight in this offseason. And then Russaw, just everything we see from him. He's going to be playing at that wolf spot this year, kind of outside linebacker. And, it's just a matter of time before he can get on the field. And then a true freshman that I think it would take a lot for him to get on the field, but even maybe in some mop-up duty, I think Justin Okoronkwo has a really, really, really good shot of really getting some playing time this year. Like I said, it might not be in any kind of, somebody gets hurt and he has to go in there role. It could be, trash time, I guess, if you will. But, I mean, everything we've heard from the coaching staff and seen on video, I loved what I saw from him on A-Day. I think he's going to be really, really, really good for Alabama. I cannot wait. Jumping back over to the defensive line room, talking a little bit more about Keeley. Man, I cannot wait till he gets his opportunity. He's I think he's probably one of the most talented. I think he's probably got one of the highest ceilings for Alabama, along that defensive line. You got a lot of talent, and there's a lot of guys that are older than you and have earned the right to be there. But, man, like I said, it is just a matter of time before Keeley really is able to make an impact for Alabama. If you guys haven't already, make sure you are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. We've got free, informative news and rumors for you pretty much every single day, about 4 or 5 times a week. We've also, coming up, we're going to be having our watch parties for every single game this season. So make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. That's youtube.com/@RollTideTV. And then the last group I really want to dive into just a little bit is some of these freshman offensive line. And there's really no true freshman offensive lineman that I really think has a chance to get on the field this season. So really went with the red shirts on this one. Ola Salinen, I cannot wait to really see him, thrive in this offense. Tyler Booker's there at that offensive guard position. Really, he's been working at guard mostly, so you got Tyler Booker, and you also have Jaden Roberts over there. So most likely not going to get on the field unless something happens to one of those guys, but I'm super excited from what I've seen from him. Wilkin Formby is right there in the running with Elijah Pritchett for that right tackle spot. And then Miles McVay also getting in really with the twos a lot at the offensive tackle spot, both at left tackle and right tackle. So this offensive line room, I am really excited, especially about the young guys coming up, and I really do think Wilkin Formby might have a little bit of an edge on Elijah Pritchett at that right tackle battle.